eyes wide open. Don't forget to subscribe and let's take a look.
Guys, we're just walking down this path and look what we see. A Sasquatch alert.
This brand new Bigfoot video comes from Big Hill Pond State Park in Pocahontas, Tennessee. Unlike most of the Bigfoot videos we see nowadays, this one was taken accidentally. A man who works at the park was filming himself in an area where these kinds of Bigfoot sightings are prevalent. And he's even talking about Bigfoot in the video. He's just sitting there talking to the camera one-on-one, recalling the recent sightings and such, when something eerie is seen in the background.
What this is about. The threat is real in McNairy County. There have so far been 6 reportings. Nobody is paying attention to the signs. People are getting very close, reporting the smell of burnt tires and dog breath. Brother, that's Bigfoot, and he's coming. So far, we've looked around.
Just behind him in the tree line, we see a brown-haired, upright figure moving quickly by. It just walks by and we get a decent look at it. And what's crazy is the state of Tennessee doesn't only experience many Bigfoot-like sightings nowadays, but they have for centuries. The roots of Tennessee's Bigfoot lore reach back to the pioneer era. Early settlers and hunters moving through the dense Appalachian forests and Cumberland Plateau often spoke of large hair-covered wild men who lived deep in the wilderness. Are there really Bigfoots running around in this state park? He's adamant that the encounter is all too real.
This might be some of the best footage I've ever seen of some creature that resembles something like a Bigfoot. Well, after finding some carcasses on the forest floor, these men decided to fly a drone above the trees just to see what was responsible for all this mayhem and destruction. And what they found next is pretty shocking. Watch till the end, you'll hear some crazy noises.
Look at it. It's not a person. Look at the hair. You can see all the hair. You'd be stupid to walk out here in a suit. You'd get shot. He's right behind that tree. The big one. Look. And his hair's gray and black. Is that gray? Is that snow? That's not snow. It's gray.
Bro. What? Bro. Oh, this is insane.
A man was walking through the woods during the construction of his house in the woods, resting on a tree stump. He got up and noticed a figure in the background, immediately turning on the camera and began recording everything that was happening. Let's take a look. In the background, behind the trees, we see a hairy and dark figure that was looking at the author of the video. But after a few seconds, we see a new movement. The Bigfoot is moving through the thicket from left to right.
This is a recent Bigfoot encounter that intrigued us. It comes with some amazingly clear evidence. The encounter all starts with a man. He's camping all alone out in the forest in an isolated, remote, and undisclosed location. This is when he spots a huge dark creature walking quickly through the trees. Seizing the opportunity, he pulls out his camera and begins recording. We see a very large, dark and hairy humanoid briskly walking through the trees. It seemingly walks unnaturally fast for just walking. He was truly freaked out by this capture, but was still uncertain about it. He tried to rationalize and make sense of it in his mind and say maybe it was just a big person or something of the like because he didn't want to abandon his camping adventure. So in the midst of all this, he decides to brave it and stay the night as he had planned. But late that night, as he was sleeping, he was awakened by strange, unnatural noises nearby. Then he spots something truly terrifying. Watch and listen.
What is that? Looks like eye shine.
A dark creature with glowing eyes swaying in the distance. It's just looking right at him. Could this have been the same Bigfoot-like creature that he spotted earlier in the day? Despite the man being completely freaked out of his mind, he stands his ground and continues filming. He even tries to communicate to the creature with a wood knock, and the creature responds to the man in kind. Watch and listen closely. It knocks and growls angrily at the man. It's enough to run shivers down your spine. But then it retreats, disappearing into the forest. It's believed that the man set up his camp in Bigfoot territory.
Well, it was on Memorial Day weekend of this year, and I was sitting on the back porch of my brother-in-law's house, drinking a cup of coffee, and off about 60 yards off to my left, something stepped out of the woods, and I just glanced over at it, and it took two more steps, little quicker steps. And it was about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, roundabout, but the neighbors had all their lights on, security lights on, so you could see it. It was reddish brown. It was every bit of 8 foot, if not taller, because the grass was probably about 3.5, roughly about 3.5 feet tall. And his hips were above, right to the top of the grass. And then it took off at a dead run, and it covered about 180 yards. It covered it in about 5 seconds. You could see the hair on the arms hanging down. They're about 6 inches long. When it was running, it was fluid. It was like it was standing on a railroad track and somebody was just jerking it across both yards as fast as they could. What scared me was how fast he moved. Yes, the size, it wasn't bulky like some of these stories talk about. He was built like an athlete, not like a bodybuilder. But he was incredibly big, though, in proportion to his size. What scared me the most was, I just sat there on the porch in shock. I couldn't even move. You could see his legs moving so fast, but there was no bobbing up and down. His head did not bob. His shoulders didn't bob. It was smooth. And it was like he's running in place, yet he was on rollers. and sliding across 2 yards. And I still think about it today. I played in my head, and I still count off how many seconds. I've been out in my yard, and I would mark off the distance. And I can't believe something can cover that much, that many yards in the amount of seconds that it did. And so if I were sitting there and this all happened and I was looking at my coffee, if I would have never looked up, it could have cut across both yards without me even seeing it. So I guess I was lucky that I actually looked up. But I wonder if he knew I was there, because I didn't have a porch light on. I was sitting in the dark, but it was illuminated by all the security lights. And but when it ran to the outside of the security lights, right? You know, when the lights hit the ground, he stayed in that area. He did not come out into the bright light.
I had ridden my motorcycle down to the lake, and I would sit down there and just look at the water. And when I got down there and revved my motorcycle up before I cut it off, something caught my eye. I turned and looked, and out of the cattail patch stood up a Bigfoot, had its hands cupped like this. That was obviously hiding in the cattail patch, and I figured drinking water with its hands cupped. When it stood up and turned and looked at me, just like you say, it turned its whole body and looked at me and took 3 steps and bounded off in the woods, and it was gone. Probably maybe 5 seconds. I rode my motorcycle over to the edge of the woods, didn't see anything. Then it kind of hit me, and I rode fast as I could back to the house. And that's basically my story.
What time of day was it?
I'd say between 4 and 4:30, because it was right after school.
Mm-hmm. And did you tell anybody when you got home?
I did. My brother and sister were out in the yard at the swing set, and my brother still remembers to this day that my eyes were just wide open. I don't know that I was scared, but I was wired up. And that's the one thing that my brother remembers about that, is how excited I was. And then I told some other people as time went on, and of course everybody thought, more or less made fun of me. And I just clammed up about it until I got a little bit older and didn't care what people thought. And the more that I talked about my story to other people, I ran into other people that had similar experiences, sightings, wood knocks, different noises that they couldn't explain.
Can you remember the details of what you encountered?
Of the Bigfoot?
Yeah, the details.
It had hair, looked like about that long, just big, long, shaggy hair. When my brother and our neighbor was in that patch a few days before, you could see the top of their head sticking out of that cattail patch. When this thing stood up, it hit it probably about its belly. So it was that much taller. And, we were 10, 11 years old. So we had to be 5 foot tall. And this thing was several feet taller. Had just looks just like a Bigfoot. Smooth face, no hair, but hair all over its body. And when it took off, it took 3 steps, and I would guess it went 30 feet, maybe, in 3 strides, and it was gone, just like a flash.
My name is Kim. It was probably 2016 or 17 when this happened. I was with a neighbor and her neighbor's wife and my father, and they just kind of took us out riding around and showing us an old graveyard where our neighbor Jim's grandfather had done some gravestones there. He handmade them and everything. It was way out. I mean, way out. It backed up the Rockhouse River, the place did, and everything. It was an old mining cemetery. That's where we started out at. So he decides he's going to go on up there and show Dad all this stuff and everything. We get up there, and I mean, it was in the middle of nowhere, way back in the middle of nowhere, and stopped the car and let Dad get out and stuff. Because as I said, he was elderly and had Alzheimer's and stuff, so he was kind of getting out stretching. While they were doing that, I got out and I walked like I was on this side of the car when we first started. And I honestly, I think this was in Jackson, but I don't know for sure, but it was around in that area. So I walked around the car over here and walked up here. Okay, there was a hill, and it wasn't a real slope one, but it went up like that. And there was woods that backed that hill up there. And I was just kind of stretching and looked up, and out walks this Bigfoot. And he just kind of walked up out of the woods, come up on top, he was on top of the hill, and he stops and he looks. And he had this, well, I shouldn't say he had this look, but he kind of looked like, what's humans doing way back here? And of course, it shocked me so bad. Didn't think about taking a picture, didn't think about nothing. I was standing there with my mouth propped open looking up. And he stood there for, it seemed longer, but it was probably maybe a minute, 2 minutes, something like that. And he just he just turns back around. I mean, politely. He was just like, turns around, walks back into the woods. And I mean, it was dark red, almost a really, really dark auburn. It was long haired. I couldn't see real close the facial features and stuff. The shoulders, though, was humongous. They looked humongous from where I was standing. And the neck and everything. And I mean, you could see the hair coming down, but I couldn't really make out a whole lot of his facial features. When he turned around and walked, he did swing his arms, and he strided. He didn't, shuffle or have a off gait or anything. He just kind of strolled back into the woods and stuff. And I mean, that was just it. I was just kind of like, but it's something, a lifetime thing. When you see something like that, you don't forget it.
Okay, my name is Mike Marbley. I am retired, and I live in Richmond, Kentucky, but I got a farm in Rockcastle, Kentucky. And this is where I've had a lot of Bigfoot experiences going on my farm. They like to claim the territory on the very back of my farm on top of a mountain. And I claim that too because it's mine. So we have a lot of run-ins. But anyway, one thing that happened, I got a creek that runs through the middle of my property. And I was coming down through there on my four-wheeler, and I had smelt this very bad stench. And it smelled like something dead, wet dog, a mixture of things, but it smelled awful. I got on up there, and I found fur of a deer. I found a lot of places where there'd been a lot of rustling going on, and it just seemed like there was something happened there. So I got off on my four-wheeler, and it smelled bad. And I got to investigating it, and I could tell that there had been a doe killed. And why I say a doe is I found the fawn, and the fawn was still there. And
the fawn was alive?
The fawn was dead.
Oh, it was dead.
It was dead. But it was left. And I got to checking it, and I could see that something had dragged the deer across the creek and up this trail. And I tracked it. And when it got to the gully that went up the mountain, it picked the deer up and carried it. And it carried it off over into another section that I call their home. And I called my friend that's also a Bigfooter with me, and I got him to come down and check it out. And he said, you know what? We need to go over in there and check that out and see if we can see anything. So the next weekend, we went over in what we call Bigfoot's home. It's over back behind my property in the Dajaboo National Forest. And we went down in there, and we found a place that is a big rock. It had a hole going back in it, and it looked like something had been staying in there. We didn't know exactly what it was. And while we were standing there, a pebble come flying through the air and started bouncing down through the trees. He said, "Did you hear that?" And I said, "I seen the pebble. It landed about 15 foot to my right." And I said, "It come from the mountain up there on the top." I said, "Let's work our way up there." And so we started working our way up there. It was fairly steep. And as we was going up the steep part, another rock come, and it was bigger, about the size of a baseball. And it hit to the right of him. And at that time, he goes, "You know, I got wife, I got kids. I don't know if I want to pursue this farther." I talked him into pursuing it farther. I said, "We might not have this chance again." I said, "I don't think they will hurt you." So we worked our way on up the hill. We had another rock to come down. It was larger. I couldn't tell you how big it was because I couldn't see it. We got up to the top of the hill, and I told him, I said, "It looks like there's a trail to the left, and there's big rocks everywhere and cliffs." And so we started walking up that way, and all of a sudden he hollered at me. He goes, "Watch out." A rock come flying to the left of me about 20 yards, and it was the size of a cantaloupe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it hit and bounced down through there. And we could tell that it did not come from the same Bigfoot. There was one on the left and there was one on the right. There was two of them.
Yeah, before all this happened, what makes you think it was a Bigfoot? Did you have howls before? You had howls?
What we've had, I have heard whoops on my place.
Okay.
I've heard them whooping. And they will whistle to communicate. I hear a whistle to the right. I hear a whistle to the left. I hear them whistle and I hear them whoop. And, not to get off the subject, but, one time he wanted to deer hunt buzzsaw, which was late in the season. And we'd had quite a bit of Bigfoot activity, kind of a lot of aggression at that time. And I told him, I said, "I'm not going to hunt. I'm going to sit with you and watch your back," because I was kind of concerned about it. I don't think they'll hurt you. That morning, right at daylight, I heard one whoop across the valley on the hillside. I heard one to the left whoop. And then I heard one to the right answer whoop. Then I heard one up the valley whoop. And then the one to the left that started it whooped back to let them know that it hurt them. So anyway, back to what was going on with me and him on that hillside. Why I think it was a Bigfoot is because, just to make it shorter, when we was going back down off the hillside, he's younger than me, so he was quite a distance ahead of me, and he stopped and turned around, was waiting for the old man to get down the hill. And he was looking back behind me, and he seen it. And he said that it was smart enough to stand back off of the hillside where you could only see its eyes and its forehead peeking up over the top of the hill. It was not exposing itself. And he said he seen it watching me come down off the hillside. He said it was reddish brown in color, and he said that it would weave back and forth as it was looking at me. He said it just kept doing that. And he said it watched me come down off that hillside. And he said I got about 20 yards from him. He said it backed off and disappeared. So that's why I say, yes, it was a Bigfoot.
Wow.
Yes.
So how far away is that from here?
My property?
Yeah.
Probably 50 miles.
50 miles?
Yep. It's in the middle of the Daniel Boone National Forest. Daniel Boone National Forest is, a lot of the government owns it, but there's also privately owned property, and that's in the Daniel Boone National Forest. I am lucky enough to own some property right in the middle of it. And I've had a lot of other activities on my place.
You said your buddy saw it a second time.
Yes, he did. That was in a different county. That's where I become to know about Bigfoot. I'm an avid deer hunter, and I always hunted down what I call the flatlands. I never hunted in the hills. And I never thought about a Bigfoot. I never seen a Bigfoot. Didn't even know about a Bigfoot. And he goes, won't you come up here and deer hunt with me? And I said, okay. And I started deer hunting up there with him. And where I've hunted all my life, I know the woods. Well, I started seeing things that was out of place. And again, I didn't know about a Bigfoot. I didn't even know what I was seeing. And what I was seeing tree breaks about 8 foot high. And I'd walk down a trail, and about 50 yards away, about the seeing distance away, I'd find another tree break, 8 foot high, bent over in the same direction. I'd walk on down the trail, find another one. I think it was a marker for another one coming through to show them the way. And I go, what is this? What is this? So I just kind of brushed it off. And so me and him used to take walks in the woods after that. And we come up on this real thick cedar thicket. And you had to bend down, almost crawl to get in it. We got back in there and we found a bed.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And what it was made of, now this was a cedar thicket. The bed was made of pine needle limbs. And it was probably 6 inches thick. It was probably 8 foot long and 4 foot wide. And it would have had to have got down on his hands and knees to get back in there.
Yeah.
But it was a bed. And I go, okay, there's something going on here. So I started doing research, trying to find out what in the world this is. And lo and behold, I found out that that's the habit that Bigfoots do, the tree breaks, the beds. And then I started doing more research, and then I started knowing what to look for and stuff like that. And to tell you this, me and him went back a week later, the bed was gone.
Oh.
And I think what it was, it know that it had been found, its hiding place. It took the sticks back out, and we couldn't find them. I don't know what it done with it, but it took them out, and it was never there again.
My name's Steve Booth. I've lived here in Powell County since about the middle of 7th grade. I'm 46 years old right now. When I was 17 in 1993, still in high school, a friend of mine, Nathaniel, he lived down at the bottom of Furnace Mountain Road in one of the trailers. We were young, we'd like to get out and ride around on my bike. I had a 440 Kawasaki, a little old street bike, and we just get out in the middle. It didn't matter if it's cold, whatever. We didn't put jackets on back then. We didn't care. About 11:30, 12 o'clock one night, we'd just get on my bike and rode up Furnace Mountain and come around through to this S curve. It's a few miles out the mountain. As we approached the curve, there was something bent over something else. We figured roadkill, whatever it was, I guess, was just approaching it. We approached the curve, and the thing was bent over, and you could see that it was dark and really, really hairy looking, fuzzy looking hair, not real smooth, but a coarse kind of hair. You could see that going by it. As we went around the curve, we went up, and my buddy was nudging me and trying to get me to lean back. And as we got up on past the curve where I could straight back a little bit, I leaned my head back, and my buddy was saying, hey, Red, what was that? I said, man, you don't want to know. He said, man, come on, what was it? He said, is it what I thought it was? I said, yes, I think it's Bigfoot. And we rode maybe another 40, 50 feet, and we turned around on a motorcycle and went back by it. And as we went back by it, probably 30, 40 feet before we got back to it, it raised up. And as it raised up, it turned around to face us. And not completely a complete turn, just its upper body turned around, and you could see its left hand. You could see its calf muscles on its left leg. It was standing kind of over in the ditch. And as we were on the opposite side of the road when we went back by it, but it raised up and it turned around and looked at us, and it followed us. I couldn't see its eyes, but it was a pretty bright night that night. The moon was out pretty good, but it was still pretty dark. I couldn't see its eyes or its nose. But when it turned, I could see that it had a flat face and it had lips. It had a big beard, mustache. It was dark in color, like it's really shiny, whatever it was, dark black or dark brown. But as it turned around, you see that it had its mustache and beard and its chest hair and abdomen hair looked like they were contrasting color, like a white or a brown. I mean, a white or a tan or a cream color. You could see as we went back by it, our eyes were glued to it, and you could see that its hair, some of it was matted together and looked like maybe mud in some of it.
Oh my God. Steady, steady. Jeez. Oh my God.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. And as always, stay safe, stay aware, and question everything.